Hey guys, it's Elliot back with another video. So, back in like early September, late August, one of the comments on one of my videos was, you should make a video about being a college student with chronic illness. And I avoided it, because last semester I did not feel like I was coping incredibly well with being a chronically ill college student. But, I mean, I was coping. I made it through. I'm here still, still studying, and I also I'm like, I don't know if I want to give advice. I mean, I'm barely functioning, right? But I mean, I've been thinking about it since then, and I've come up with 10 reminders, or like tips, I guess, I use for chronic illness, as well as a lot of these are the things that make me struggle are related to my executive dysfunction. So these are 10 ways that I guess I cope with college as with chronic illness and executive dysfunction, mental health issues as well. But I don't know if reminders is the right word. Some of them are things that I'm really trying to internalize for myself, but I might as well just go through. So number 1 is let downtime be downtime. So one thing I was struggling with was like I would be trying to work, and I still struggle with this, but I just would hit a wall and I would end up not doing anything, and I would kind of just be sitting on my laptop doing not really anything that was helping me with my paper, but it also wasn't restful either. So one thing I try to do is when I recognize that I need to stop and I'm not actually getting anything done and I need to have downtime, that has to be downtime, because when it's downtime you can rest and you're not feeling like you should be working on your paper or whatever. So just allowing myself to have downtime, I guess, is one thing. Number 2, time in the void is important. So this needs some explanation. So I consider I call like with my ADHD, I have I call it void, where I'm just kind of not really doing anything at all. Maybe I'll be playing a game on my phone or just kind of sitting there, and it's just like, oh my gosh, an hour went by. And some amount of void time is important, because I realize that's my body's way of needing to shut down, basically, without taking an actual nap, because that doesn't really help me very much, but just seeing that void time as important has definitely helped for me. Number 3 is use your accommodations. They're there for a reason. So this is more for me. I have accommodations, but I do highly recommend anyone who's thinking about starting college, or even is in college, to work on trying to get some accommodations. So part of it is stuff that happened in high school. So I had the way that my emotional support IEP was just, it didn't help, and it taught me kind of not to use my accommodations unless I absolutely had to. So whenever I have extended time on my, especially written assignments. I don't usually need it for my reading assignments. And there's a certain amount of guilt I always feel about not getting my paper done by the actual due date. And it doesn't matter, because I'll be working on it. And but sometimes I just can't get it done. And allowing myself to use those accommodations is really helpful. And like, I can take my testing in an alternate location, and I have some other accommodations. Doesn't really matter exactly, but getting the accommodations and using the accommodations has allowed me to be successful as a college student. I really I think I wouldn't be nearly as successful as I am without my accommodations. And people kind of get weird about it. They're like, oh, I wish I had accommodations. Like, I could get so much more done. It's like, this allows me to function at a human level, but whatever. Number 4 is learn your limits and respect them. Like, I'm trying to learn that there are things that I can't do, and I'm learning to accept it and not try to make myself do things. Like, there have been 2 semesters now where I've tried to take on like a heavy course load, like maxing out my schedule, and it just keeps not working for me, and I'm just accepting. Like, I have friends who can take 18 credit semesters, and I'm like, I want to do that, but I'm like, I can't do that and also stay sane and healthy. And like, you know, maybe I need to think, I mean, I have a tendency to take on too much, so like letting myself be like, is this too much, you know, like I need to go to bed now. Like it's one thing that happens in college is people are talk about how late they stay up and, you know, how hard they work, and I'm just like, oh, I want to do that, but I have to accept that I'm not necessarily able to function in that way, and that's okay. Number 5, modify activities for yourself. So I don't always do my assignments in the way that other people do them, and this is a couple-fold. I guess I was going to say twofold, but there's a couple reasons why I do it. One, like, I don't write drafts, and that's a personal thing. I struggle with writing drafts, and I end up having to write the whole paper at once. So like for me, the same, and I think it's an ADHD thing again, the things that help neurotypical students don't necessarily work for me. Or like, it's a way, or I can participate, but maybe not in the way that my friends are able to participate in something, like, you know, just going and watching my friends do stuff, because, you know, there's definitely a social aspect of college. So like, the other weekend, student ambassadors, at the end of our training, we went roller skating, and there was no way I could roller skate. Like, my physical therapist kind of laughed at me a little bit for asking, because I knew I couldn't, but I just wanted to make sure. So I was like, okay, I'll take pictures, you know, that'll be fun to photograph the experience. So like, you know, stuff like that. You can participate, but just allow your, you know, be creative and use your limits, as well as knowing like what might be enjoyable if you can't do something. But yeah. 6, your health, both mental and physical, comes first. So this means, you know, this is something that I struggled with in high school too, is like, all right, I could keep working on this paper for another hour, but I feel terrible. I'm gonna go to bed now. Or, you know, I'm just not feeling well today. I need to take a rest day. Or, you know, hey, I'm an art student, so hey, professor, I have a really hard time doing the 3-hour model sessions because my fingers collapse in on themselves, and it's just harder on those days. So, you know, working around that, like, hey, I can't do this whole time, or, you know, I'm really not feeling well, I need to take it easy today, or, okay, I need to put this aside for now and take care of myself, or, you know, prioritizing seeing my doctors over sometimes class if it's unavoidable. Like, some doctors are only have certain slots, so, you know, like, all right, I need to do that, and I'll make up the work later. But, you know, that means different things for different people. Number 7, identify your supports and utilize them. So I struggle with this, but, you know, supports are important, and, you know, it can be the obvious stuff, like, you know, I mean, if your parents are part of, you know, your support system, you know, making sure you stay up to date with them, or, you know, keeping your friends up to date with what's going on. I know I struggle with that a lot. I don't like to admit that I need help, but when I do, it's usually ends up being what I needed. Like, I mean, telling my friends what's going on is almost always helpful. You know, having, you know, if there's a certain professor you have frequently and you get along really well with them, you know, asking them for help. You know, the ADA office, for me, my support system includes my friends. I see a counselor on campus, so I can keep her up to date. She helps me out with stuff. The Office of Campus Ministry, Campus Minister, and I guess there's a couple support stuff there, but I know our Director of Campus Ministry is one of my biggest supports. The Dean of Student Life is one of my supports. You know, and it might be different for you, like, and every campus is a little bit different, so there's different offices. We have a sister on campus because we're, you know, a Catholic institution. She's really helpful, but also, like, certain friends are a little bit more aware of what's going on than others, but, allowing myself to be honest about what's going on and asking for help it's difficult. I hate asking for help. I have a hard time with it. It's just not something I like to do, but it's some necessary thing that I'm working on being able to do better. Number 8, when it's clear you can't get any more work done, disengage. So this kind of goes along with, like, letting downtime be downtime, but for me, I'm really, instead of, forcing myself to work on something for another 2 hours, and just suffering through it and not really getting it, like, I usually hit a point, especially with writing papers, but also studying and doing other stuff, where I'm finding myself just taking break after break after break, and breaks are turning out longer than the actual assignment's taking, and I'm just like, okay, you're done. And accepting that it's okay that I didn't get as much work done as maybe I'd hoped. And then that allows me to, go along with, that helps with some of the other things I've said. So, just let yourself stop when you're, like, just, like, listen to your body, let's see what happens. Like, if my attention span's up, like, trying to push it I'm just gonna get more and more frustrated, and, whereas if I, stop and, like, okay, fine, I know I wanted to get this done right now, but I can't, I'll be more productive, and I'll get better work done if I do it later. Number 9 is, be upfront with your professors. Like, keep them up to date. Like, if you're gonna miss class, let them know ahead of time. Like, some professors know more than others. Like, I have one drawing professor who she's like everyone's mom. I love her. But she's really one of my biggest supports as well. But, just being honest, like, hey, I'm struggling with this, or hey, I'm going to need to use my extended time for this assignment, or hey, can you help me with this? I'm struggling. And just keeping your professors in the know can really help. And then, or, like, I sometimes have missed class because I'm in the ER, and I'll be like, I'm not going to be in class tomorrow, I'm in the ER, sending them emails. Or, I'm not sure if I'll make it to class, or, hey, I'm really not feeling well, I'm going to try. Like, that's especially true with, like, drawing. I'm going to try to make it through class, but I really just can't, I can't 100% guarantee it, or, this is what I'm struggling with. And that's been so important to me. And my last one is, you are your own best advocate. So, advocating for what I need has been crucial in my success. Like, going to talk to the dean of students about, room selection before it happens, being proactive with accommodations and saying, like, okay, I'm not sure if I'll need this, but I want to make sure it's documented ahead of time, or I really don't know how well I'll be able to do this assignment, I just want to let you know that I'm struggling with it, just like, or is there a way I can do this differently? Like, we recently had to read an article for class that was extremely triggering for me, and I just couldn't do it. So I talked to the professor. I was like, hey, I really can't. I sent her an email, and then I talked to her after class the next day. Can I do it differently? Like, can I choose a different article to do the same assignment? And that worked. But if I could have just sucked it up and suffered and been triggered. So, it's really important to identify and advocate for your needs, whatever that looks like for you. So those are my 10, like, tips, I guess, for college with chronic illness, executive dysfunction, and mental health issues. So I hope you were able to maybe get something out of this, see what other people do. I'd be really interested to know what you do, like, what your tips for being a student with chronic illness or executive dysfunction are. Let me know in the comments down below what you do. I'll see you next time. Bye.